If you are a teacher, parent, administrator, student, and/or anyone who loves reconnecting children with nature, and you want to figure out how to cultivate learning gardens and nature-based curriculum, then this is the podcast, the Outdoor Classrooms podcast. My name is Victoria Hackett. I am the founder of Outdoor-Classrooms.com and the Secret Gardens Nature Classes. I love witnessing the magic that happens when children are playfully learning outdoors. Observing the return of wonder and curiosity when children are interacting with nature is pure magic. This is the podcast that is going to help you capture children's interest and give you not only inspiration, but some real life strategies that are going to help you figure out how to use the outdoor space, your outdoor space, as a teaching tool, so you can enlighten the playful learning experience for young children. Welcome to our Outdoor Classrooms community. Hello, everybody. It's Victoria Hackett here, the founder of Outdoor-Classrooms.com. I'm so excited about this topic that we're going to be talking about, from quiet achiever to storyteller, amplifying the voices of outdoor education. So if you are new around here, again, my name is Victoria Hackett. I am the founder of Outdoor-Classrooms.com. I also host this podcast where we offer one new podcast episode a week that comes out on Tuesdays. I also lead the Secret Gardens Outdoor Classroom nature classes for young children and school-age children, which is absolutely my happy place, I should say. I also give workshops. We host the Outdoor Classrooms Teacher Certification Program online, which is absolutely amazing. And we also have a membership community called The Circle. And the reason why it's called The Circle is because there's not one person that is leading. We are all leaders in ourselves, and that we share equally inside this incredible container. So the purpose of this episode is that through this podcast, I've met so many incredible educators that are doing incredible things. And one of the reasons behind starting the Outdoor Classrooms podcast itself was to create a platform where we could amplify your voices, the folks that are, and the educators and the parents that are out there doing the work. And I'm meeting many quiet achievers. And I wanted to sort of define that a little bit, and that I wanted to address the quiet achiever's dilemma and this invisible success syndrome that we might have among us educators in outdoor settings. So what is it? What is a quiet achiever's dilemma? It's this internal conflict that many early childhood educators face, or even any educator, and who achieve incredible things on a daily basis, but feel that their achievement and many achievements are not significant enough to climb that mountain and let the whole world know what they are doing. It's just a quiet achievement. And this also goes into this invisible success syndrome, which many educators feel that their successes are not visible or acknowledged by others, which then in turns leads to a type of self-doubt that they aren't worthy enough to share their story. So it becomes invisible. And I say this, and I'm doing a whole podcast episode on this because I really want to speak to us early childhood educators, even parents, and how important it is to share your story. And that goes into what I want to also talk about, which is the importance of storytelling. Thinking about storytelling and how it has been a fundamental part of our human culture for passing down knowledge, traditions, and values. And how these stories, and what I have absolutely loved about this Outdoor Classrooms podcast is that I feel like I'm a story collector, that I'm collecting stories of all shapes and sizes. And I often run up against people that are feeling like, wow, I never thought that my little program could be on a podcast or that anybody would be interested in what I'm doing on my little corner of the world. And I often say that you don't have to be an author or be on a stage or be this big person that has been able to highlight their story. It is those stories, those unspoken stories that I want to also capture on this podcast. I want to highlight how stories have the power to connect people across generations and across cultures. And how can we do that in the realm of outdoor classrooms? What are those stories? And that each of you has a very different story than the next person because you are you. There's no other person that is you. So whatever you do or say and how you interpret your outdoor classroom and create your outdoor classroom is going to be very, very different than, say, if you have another outdoor classroom in your same town. It's just going to be different because your story and what you bring to that story is going to be different. So there is an educational value in how storytelling can enhance learning by making this information relatable and memorable. So again, every single guest that we have had on the Outdoor Classrooms podcast, every single person that I have interviewed, it's just a conversation. And it's been a conversation revealing their story. What brought them into this world of nature-based education, this world of outdoor classrooms? What is it that sparks that magic? And again, every single person I've talked to describes this magic that happens when we are connecting not only ourselves, but our children to nature. There are still many, many people out there that think this is wacko and too difficult and takes too much time. Therefore, it's the role of our stories that can foster this empathy and understanding and actually bring our community together. And one of the reasons why we have our circle community is that we can all come as a circle and as a community to share our individual stories. And in those stories, there is commonality, there is seeds of inspiration, there is camaraderie, and there is support. So imagine, just any cultures that believe in the act of storytelling. They circle around. They might be around a fire. They might be around a campsite and let the stories begin. The elders in the community share their stories, and those stories get passed down from generation to generation to generation. It's a beautiful thing. And what if this Outdoor Classrooms podcast could feel like we're sitting around a fire and someone is sharing their story, their outdoor classroom story. And those stories, those golden nuggets that are within those stories get carried on like a seed that is, I read these beautiful seed stories where seeds blow in the wind and they get planted somewhere else. And they might grow into something else. But it's the journey of that seed that is coming from an original story. And that's how I see this. That's how I see all of your stories. That's how I see what we're talking about as a movement. Imagine if we had an abundance of seeds that went out into the universe and were planted. And those abundance of seeds came from all of our stories. And they grew and they grew and they grew to all of a sudden we have this chorus of birds. We have a chorus of beautiful flowers. We have all of these beautiful things coming from the story. So I want to move into the consequences of silence, the consequences of keeping our stories to ourselves and keeping our work to ourselves. That if we are going in and teaching and then we reach out to our families, but that's it. We think that's enough. Then that's not you becoming a part of the movement. And the consequence of this silence is that there's a loss of knowledge and inspiration. I was talking to educators yesterday, and it was incredible to hear what they're doing. Absolutely amazing. So discussing the potential of loss. What if they didn't share that story, even with us on the podcast? That loss of unique insights, innovation, all the work that they're doing is not being celebrated. So it's not being celebrated if those stories remain untold. So I want to highlight how silence can lead to missed opportunities for collaboration and growth. And again, if we are having struggles within our programs and we need to get that support, that's why we created Outdoor Classrooms. That's why we created the Circle community. So that's why we have the podcast. All of that is so we can elevate your story. We can elevate this movement to the next phase, that we can grow together. We can grow together. And imagine the impact on future generations. The impact on future generations if you don't tell your story, and if you do tell your story. Imagine. Consider the impact on future educators and students who might miss out on learning from your past experiences. Imagine. So even sharing in our community, our Circle community, that's an opportunity to share your story among other educators. It's not, oh, I'm more advanced and I have more knowledge and this is just for people who are just starting out. No. We have educators that are getting their PhD. We have educators and it's that incredible story that is shared that inspires the rest of us. We have educators that have been teaching for 30 plus years. We have educators that have retired. We have educators from all walks of life because they all have a story to tell. And it doesn't matter where your story starts, and it doesn't matter where your story finishes because the story never actually finishes. It's just an opportunity to grow from each other within our story and actually to impact future generations. Because once we start sharing our story and we learn how to share our stories, our children will feel it and see it. Your voice becomes stronger and louder, and you become more confident. Then all of a sudden, wow, this is incredible. I want to share and perfect my story so I can make a difference in this lifetime. Life is short, and we need to be impacting future generations by sharing our outdoor classroom stories. So I want to encourage you as listeners to think about the legacy that you want to leave. What is the legacy that you want to leave? And thinking about just that. Thinking about how can you take your outdoor teaching practice to the next level? And what is the next level for you? Like learning the foundations of what we teach here in our outdoor teaching boot camp, which we just completed our latest cohort. It will run again, so no worries if you missed it. But that information might seem, I got this. But then to ask yourself, how can you up-level it to the next level? What does that look like? And impacting future generations, but also as a seasoned educator, can you be put into a situation where you are impacting future generations, not only of children, but of future generations of educators? I saw a quote somewhere the other day, and it really hit home for me. And it said something, didn't write it down, but it said something along the lines of great leaders create leaders. And that's what I want to do here. I want to be a great leader that invites you to be a great leader through finding what your story is, your outdoor classroom story, and dancing and screaming it at the top of a mountaintop, and highlighting the fact that all our stories are different. We all come from different places. Just like there's not one seed that we plant that is exactly the same as the seed next to it. We're all a little bit different, and we all have stories to tell. So I want to move into creating a moment. Not a moment in time that creates a movement. How do we create a movement? And what is that moment in time that's going to have you wake up and say, yes, that is my why. I want to be a part of a movement. And that is what we are doing here at Outdoor-Classrooms.com. We are creating a movement. We're defining what that movement is. So again, it starts with a shared vision and collective action. So what is the vision? In many ways, for me, it's for every child in every school or every backyard to have access to an outdoor classroom. It is to change the face of education, one outdoor classroom at a time. It's to have children experience the quote-unquote magic that we all talk about when we see children playfully learning in an outdoor space that allows them to lose themselves in it. But yet, we're still meeting standards, yet we're still excited about learning, yet there's still inquiry and wonder and all that amazing features within the learning process. So how can we collectively do that when there are so many people that are still resistant to teach outdoors during inclement weather, during challenging weather days? How can we collectively work together to raise each other up and grow the seeds into abundance, where we can become healthy environments, healthy communities, strong communities, where we all know our neighbors, we all work together, we know what's going on in each other's worlds? How can we do that and discuss and share our stories to create a sense of belonging and purpose? And that's what I'm here for. That's why I've created Outdoor Classrooms. That's why I've created a certificate program so we can get the resources out there to you. And so in turn, so you can get the resources out to your community. So in turn, you can inspire teachers that come into your program, interns that come into your program, families that come into your program. This is bigger. This is bigger than us. This is something that we need to come together and create a movement. We need to build that community. So I want to encourage you to connect with others who share this passion for outdoor education and outdoor classrooms and nature-based education. And if you can't find that, come join us in our community here at Outdoor Classrooms. Our circle community is an incredible community with incredible resources, and you can join and be as active and or as passive as you like. There's no requirement in terms of how you decide to to be in that community, it's up to you. But the resources and the community are here. If you want to build a community within your program, there's so many different ways that we talk about doing that. Within our circle community, we talk about building community within our programs. And it's incredibly inspiring what people are doing. Incredible. So forming these networks and groups and exchanging ideas and resources and support is all that we do here at Outdoor Classrooms. That is my mission. And in many ways, it feels like my calling. It feels like these whispers that I get from the universe. It's like, yep, this is what you need to be doing. And I invite you to, if this feels and resonates with you in terms of, yeah, wow, I really do want to share my story, but I'm feeling a little vulnerable, please walk through that vulnerability and set up a one-on-one call with me. You just go to my website and find that little tab that says one-on-one call with Victoria, and we'll talk about it. We'll talk through it. And you will find that it's just like having a cup of tea with a friend in a little beautiful tea house. That's the environment that we're creating. And if you've listened to any of the other podcasts, you will know and you'll feel that vibe. So what I would like to talk about is overcoming this quiet achiever's dilemma and this invisible success syndrome. So again, the first thing I want you to do, if you feel like this is you and you want to take your outdoor teaching practice to the next level, you want to define your story, but you're a little nervous or you feel vulnerable or whatever those feelings are, the important thing is to recognize them. And they're going to be, again, different for everybody. Again, that's why we have the 5 phases of teaching outdoors. Everybody's in a different phase. And whatever phase you're in, even if part of your mindset is, I want to go to a higher level, but I'm a little nervous. I don't know how to get there. It's recognizing those feelings. It's describing common thoughts and feelings associated with these concepts such as self-doubt and the pressure to meet high standards. And again, it could be that you're at a certain point, but what I'm suggesting is to throw yourself into an uncomfortable zone. Get out of this comfort zone that you're in and throw yourself into an uncomfortable zone. When you're in that uncomfortable zone, those are the feelings that I want you to recognize, because that is where all the learning is going to happen. That is where we're going to get excited. That is where we're going to grow. And to constantly be throwing ourselves into the uncomfort. And again, so many stories and anecdotes of educators who have faced these challenges are on the podcast. They are also in our circle community. And I can't say that enough. These educators from all over the world sharing their stories, their outdoor classroom stories on a monthly basis, on a daily basis in our private Facebook page. They're sharing pictures, they're sharing stories, they're sharing successes, they're sharing challenges. Those are all their stories. And so it's important for us to get into the rhythm of that. And the more that we do that, the louder this movement becomes. And the raising of the bar. It's not just for people who are just starting out. That's not what this is about. This is about folks and educators that are on all spectrums, on all phases of teaching outdoors. And if you've been teaching for 30 years, 100 years, it's also about sharing your story, inspiring others, and continuing to find inspiration to stay, I don't know why this word is coming into to stay juiced, to stay excited. Again, practical tips, looking at strategies like seeking mentorship, celebrating those small wins, practicing self-compassion. You can do that on your own. But if you want to do it in community, come join us in the circle. And I want to encourage you as educators and parents to focus on the impact of your work rather than comparing yourselves to others. There is no one that's going to have an outdoor space like yours. And you may be looking at other programs on Instagram and say, oh, wow, they have this huge, incredible woods or forest that they can access. We have a blacktop. Or you might see, oh my goodness, it looks so incredible. They've got ponds and gardens and trees and whatnot. We just have a deck. So no matter what your outdoor space is, it is workable. And my encouragement today is to encourage you to focus on the impact of your work, the impact, the feedback that you're getting, not only from the children, the families, your community, but what's the impact of your work in the greater scheme of things? And if you're an early childhood provider, what about the early childhood community, the greater community? Have you thought about speaking your story to them and going beyond the beyond? And what does that look like? That is what we do here at Outdoor Classrooms. We help you and guide you to becoming a leader and an advocate in the field of nature-based education and outdoor classrooms. Because if I'm going to be a leader, what I want to do is I want to encourage you to be a leader in this field. And I will do everything in my power to achieve that. I want to encourage you as educators, and again, I kind of lump educators as all people who work with children. So whether you're a parent or a caregiver, or you are all educators. And I want to encourage you to write and share. So part of that is breaking barriers and discussing those common barriers to writing and sharing, such as fear of judgment or lack of confidence. And I hear many stories of educators, grown adults that have chosen to work with young children because they fear talking to adults. Children are so forgiving and loving, and so there's a fear there that I'll work with the kids, but I can't talk to the adults. So I want to put that on the table because you have a story to tell, and you need to fight through that fear of judgment or lack of confidence, if that is the case, and share that story, because that story is so incredible. The children see it and they feel it. They feel it every single day because you are there. You are doing it all. But what if we shared that story with another set of adults? Maybe shared your story with young educators that are coming into the field. Shared your story at a conference, at a workshop. What does that look like? What does that feel like when I say that? What if you came on to the Outdoor Classrooms podcast as a guest and shared your story with the thousands of people that listen to this podcast every month? So I want to emphasize that every story is valuable and can inspire others regardless of your own perceived imperfections. And it's almost like the imperfections, there's the beauty in the imperfections. And that's the way I like to look at our outdoor classroom. It's not perfect, but the beauty is in the imperfections. And that's why I call it, in many ways, it's a children's garden. Children aren't perfect, nor should their outdoor spaces be perfect. They shouldn't be groomed and perfect, and you walk in and you think, they should be messy. They should have upcycled materials in it. They shouldn't be one or the other. It should just be. And your story should be imperfect because we're all growing. If you think about when children learn to walk, right? When they're learning to walk, do they get up and they just start walking? No, they get up, they fall, they knock themselves, they might knock their head, they might knock their knees, but they get up again. We have a little one in our Secret Gardens Outdoor Classroom nature class. Oh my goodness. She is something else. She's a second child and she she falls all the time. But it does not faze her at all. She falls, she gets cuts and this and blah, blah, blah. But she's got cuts on her knees, but she gets right back up. And she is going to be a force. And she's smart as the dickens. And that's the beginning of her story. So we want to think of our imperfections like we are learning how to walk. We will fall, but we will learn from our falls. And that is where the learning is. We need to learn how to fail over and over and over again until we can, I'm not even going to say the word perfect because there's no such thing as perfection, until we really start embracing the falls so we can learn how to walk steady. Doesn't mean we're not going to fall again. It just means that we've learned that skill and that we can now go on to the next skill, whatever that may be. And this podcast episode is that cycle. Is once you learn how to walk, okay, I've got that down. What's the next level? What's the next higher level? And what I'm inviting you to do in this podcast episode is to leap into, not just jump, leap into and out of your comfort zone and into the uncomfort zone. We've got this beautiful summer ahead of us. And no matter when you're listening to this podcast, but the time of this recording, it's summer. It's a wonderful time to dip your toe into these new adventures. So to get started, I want to invite you to, again, write, journal, blog, contribute. You can even contribute to community newsletters. You can contribute to the Seedling News. Let us know what's happening in your world. And the best way to do that now is to join us on the podcast as a guest. The door is wide open. So I would love to collaborate with you and to co-author, share your stories, and let us know what's happening in your world, in your outdoor classroom, because you don't know who is listening. It's like children. You never know what they're hearing and what they're interpreting and so on and so forth. So you just don't know. All of a sudden you'd be like, people like, I know you. And you're like, you do? So it's exciting. So I want to recap and offer a call to action. We talked about being a quiet achiever and that dilemma. We talked about the success syndrome, the invisible success syndrome. So feeling like you are invisible, literally, and you're just doing all the hats and trying to survive. So here, it's not about just surviving. It's about thriving. And what I'm offering is that you can thrive through sharing your story. We talked about the consequences of silence if you don't share your story, the loss of knowledge, the loss of inspiration, the impact on future generations. And then we also talked about creating a movement. And that is what we're doing here in our circle community at Outdoor Classrooms, our Outdoor Classrooms Teacher Certification Program. We are creating a movement of educators, like-minded educators that are ready to rock and roll. And they want to share their stories with each other. And we do that on a monthly basis. And then we talked about just overcoming this quiet achiever's dilemma and the invisible success syndrome. So I want to, again, encourage you to write and share. I want you to reach out to me and just say, I listened to that podcast and it really hit home. What do I need to do? Or we'll just chat. Grab a cup of tea and we'll have a chat. Your story is important. What you are doing on a daily basis for children is important. It is more important now than ever before to reconnect children and ourselves to nature. And what we will find is the whispers that nature and the wind and the universe have to offer is the magic. I invite you to connect with me, and I would love to hear your thoughts in a review. If you want to share a review on our podcast, that would be fantastic. But again, most importantly, would love to hear from you. If you go to www.outdoor-classrooms.com and you scroll a little bit down the page, you will see a little button there that says schedule a one-on-one call with Victoria. I would love to hear from you. And if you cannot and don't see a date and a time that works for you on my calendar, just send me an email at victoria@outdoor-classrooms.com, and I will make it work for you. So without further ado, tell your story, and we'll talk soon. Bye. Thank you for joining us for today's episode. Before we sign off, we have an exciting opportunity for educators looking to bring learning to life outdoors. Consider enhancing your teaching journey with the Outdoor Classrooms Teacher Certification Program. This program empowers educators to transform any outdoor space into a dynamic learning environment. By joining, you'll gain skills to inspire students and foster a deeper connection with the natural world. Interested in making a difference with outdoor learning? Visit www.outdoor-classrooms.com to learn more about enrolling in the certification program. Don't miss the chance to expand your teaching toolkit and inspire the next generation with the joy of outdoor education. Thank you for listening, and remember to subscribe to our podcast for more inspiring content. Until next time, keep inspiring young minds.